Hello friends, myself Professor Vinod Pillai. Welcome to C++ programming session. In today's session, we'll be seeing one of the new features introduced in C++, that's inline function. Inline function is a special type of function which is being added into C++. First we will see what is inline function, what is the need of inline function, or you can say what are the advantages we are getting by using the concepts of inline function. And third, we'll see if we understand both of them, then exactly how we can create an inline function in C++. Okay, let's start it up. What is an inline function? Inline function is a simple function, same as you used to do in a C. The only difference here is that in the function definition, you have to add a special keyword called inline in front of the function. So as and when you add an inline keyword in front of the function's definition, that function will convert into an inline function. It's a request, it's not an order. So it depends upon the compiler to convert that function to an inline or not. So what exactly is inline all about, or why we need inline? What is the difference compared to a normal function and inline function? That comes to the next. Generally, if we create a simple function, that is function is having n number of advantages. That is, it helps to reduce the code, it helps to manage complex coding, and everything is there that we know about functions. But function is having some disadvantages also. The disadvantage in the sense is like, as and when you call a function, at that time the particular code or the particular pointer have to jump to that particular location to the function, and at that location it has to execute the code, and the pointer has to return back from there it has been jumped. Meanwhile, it has to store the values into the stack, it has to push and get the values from the stack. So this all operation takes n number of times. Okay, so as and when you call the function for n number of times, it wastes, or you can say it takes much amount of time in storing and jumping from one particular location to another. Yes, it is a disadvantage, but compared to the what are the advantages we get in function, these disadvantages are nothing. But as and when, if suppose your function is having hardly 2 to 3 lines of code, in that case, creating such a function and making the system to have such a burden of jumping so many places, such a function's disadvantages comes into an eye. So there is only two options you have: either you don't create a function, or else if you don't create a function, then you have to write the code for the n number of places where you want to call the function. So that's not an ideal solution. The second solution comes with C++, is the inline function. So what do you exactly do here? So what's the difference here? The difference is here that when you create a function, instead of just simply creating the function, you put an inline keyword. So what happens is nothing. Before compiling the program, the compiler will copy and paste all the content of the function into each and every location wherever you call. So basically, if you don't create a function, then also you are doing the task. That is, if you don't create a function, then you have to write the 3 to 4 lines of functions code in all the places where you want to call it. So instead of you to write that code, or instead of you don't want to write the code, or you can say like that, so you create a function, but this function will not jump into that particular location. Here the pointers will not be jumping, because before getting compiled and executed, the content of the code will be pasted into the all places where you have called the function. So instead of you writing the code, it is the compiler's responsibility now to write the code here. So this is the biggest advantage you are getting in inline function. Okay, so yes, it is true that it is a request, so it may happen you have n number of lines and you say let it make it as an inline function. No, the compiler is up to the compiler to decide it and do it. Or now it is, if you may try this thing in different things, the different editors. I'm using Linux, so it works fine. If you're using Turbo C programmers, now there is a possibility that you may think about of having a functions declaration. That is, you declare the function and the definition comes with it. Inline keyword is generally applied only on definitions. Yes, it is true in Linux you may work it out, but in Turbo C, those users who are using Turbo C older versions, for them I am requesting to use, don't go for declaration, only specify the definition, else you may not find a result. So that's one of the problems. Yes, in VCC C++ it shows a solution. So it's upon the editors. You don't have to concentrate much on it. Only thing you have to remember as a programmer is that inline function is one of the features. When you have 2 to 3 lines of code, you don't want to waste much of time, then you can create that function as an inline function, just putting a simple keyword in front of it as inline. It gives all the rights to you, and then onwards your execution becomes faster. Yes, one of the disadvantages you can say is that inline functions should be used very carefully. That means what? It is true that it saves times, but it is also true that it takes more memory space. So you have to think what is your requirement. Even it is has some problems with header files and all. I don't want to get mess all those things, but the important thing is like you have to decide. If you have 2, 3 to 4 lines of code, memory is not a concern, execution speed is concerned, then you should go for inline function in C++. If you have any other queries, you can post to me on my email address, or else you can post as a comment in the video. Okay, thank you and have a nice day.